And we don't address that as the root cause. Oh, it's white supremacy, it's injustice, it's economics. We're dancing around the core of the issue.
I guess what I'm saying is, right, and you perfectly actually laid out the dichotomy here. It is a fact, obviously, that black people disproportionately commit crime in this country. No one's arguing that. But you either believe that that is due to a complex intersection of social, economic, and leftover effects from previous inequalities, or you believe that that is an inherent trait to the race.
No, I don't, because they weren't that way in the 1940s and 50s. Black America was one of the most peaceful, flourishing, fastest growing economically communities in the country. It's not genetic. You're trying to point something on me that I don't believe. It's that
Black
America...
But then you do believe that it's not genetic, so you do think CRT is correct.
Hold on a second. In the 1940s and 1950s, Black America was prosperous and was on pace to be richer and wealthier than white America. More dads were staying with the women that they were with. There was monogamy. What changed?
You're supporting my argument.
No, hold on, but answer the question. What changed? Did America get more racist since 1950?
I would argue there were more racist policies passed. There were more policies dedicated to lining up those communities, pushing them into poor housing and poor schools.
Wait a second. In the 1950s, Jackie Robinson had not even broken the color barrier. We had Jim Crow laws. We hadn't passed the Civil Rights Act, and we hadn't passed the Voting Rights Act. Yet blacks were better in the 1950s per capita than they are today. So we have become less racist. We've passed more anti-racist laws and given more stuff, and blacks are worse than they were 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Why?
So you're equating here institutional and social racism. Social racism was certainly worse in the 1950s, I'm sure everyone would agree, but institutional racism occurs when policies are passed against people.
Come on.
Which can increase over time, and it did.
You're not being intellectually honest, you know that. There was black-only drinking fountains in the 1950s. We don't have those anymore. Well, we're bringing them back with, black-only dormitories, but we had, for example, in the antebellum South in the 1950s, we had white-only communities, white by law. We got rid of that with the Civil Rights Act. But it didn't, unfortunately, we look around, the numbers speak for themselves. Black youth are less like their fathers, they're not doing as well as far as economically, they commit more crime, so something changed. And our argument is what changed is three things. Number one, the imposition of the Great Society Project by Lyndon Baines Johnson of spending $30 trillion since 1960s on Section 8 housing, on welfare, on all sorts where, as I said, that young black women marry the government and they divorce young black men. And then we also have had, as Thomas Sowell and as Clarence Thomas would say, the soft bigotry of low expectations. And we have been afraid to get to the root of the issue or even speak about it because we don't be called racist.
So what is imposing those low expectations?
Part of it is like white academic culture. I'll give you an example. I'm not saying you believe this, but Merrick Garland, the Attorney General of the United States, has come out and said having an ID to vote is racist. That is code for saying black people are too dumb to get a voter ID.
You're doing it again. You're simplifying a very nuanced, complex argument from the real people who are making it.
Is voter ID racist?
Obviously not, Charlie.
Okay, all right.
Do you want to know where the argument comes from? I can eloquently tell you.
Eloquently tell me why voter ID is racist.
Great. Certain policies in southern states were proposed that would, I think the quote from the person who decided the case was, with surgical precision, target the times where black people were voting and make it illegal or harder for them to get that, to come at that time. And then they were targeting the type of ID that black voters had and making that specific type of ID illegal. That is racist.
Perfectly fair. How does that impact today, saying that every citizen, if you need an ID to vote, just that aside, why is it racist?
Because we have to have, obviously humans are making those decisions, right? And so if there is still institutional racism and people in power that are racist, we can't trust those institutions to make those decisions without discriminating.
What institutional racism do we have in this country right now?
What you just named it.
What?
1350.
Oh, well,
affirmative action needs to happen because there is not that many minorities in these higher educations. Or higher education institutions.
Okay, so you're being clear, which is then you lower standards.
No.
Affirmative action always does. Affirmative action lowers standards by definition.
I'm saying why affirmative action was introduced. I'm not arguing for it.
Were you asking me why it was introduced? Or?
No, I'm saying you agree that's why it was introduced.
Well, I agree why it was. I don't think it ever should have been, but yes.
Right, but there is institutional inequality, yes?
Well, I wouldn't even use the word inequality. I don't love looking at it that way, but of course, white people generally are richer than black people.
You got a bottle?
Richer and more represented in politics and schools.
Next to your backpack.
Somewhat yes and
Why do you think
yes
that
and
is,
no.
Charlie?
Thank you.
Well, hold on a second. Let's ask the question here. Represented how? So I mean,
Look at Congress,
so
man.
hold on a second. Are white people represented fairly in the National Basketball Association?
Nope.
Who cares? What political
Hold on,
power
I
does
thought
the
we're all
national...
about fair representation.
Listen.
I think that it should, by law, half of the NBA should be white.
Great, fine.
And the product would suck.
Love you for it.
Because
I don't
blacks
care.
are much better at basketball than we whites are.
What political power does the NBA have?
A lot, actually. The NBA reaches millions of people every day. They have slogans that people internalize. In fact, if the NBA had no political power, why would they have to wear Black Lives Matter on all their jerseys? Why would politicians try to get their endorsements all the time? The NBA is more powerful than Congress in some ways of shaping the minds.
Okay, I think it's your turn to be academically dishonest
Hold on a
now,
second.
sure.
No, but if you want fair representation, just to be clear, then why would you not be against whites, by law, being half of the National Basketball Association? Right now,
Sure.
black people make up 88% of the NBA.
Doing great. Who cares?
No.
I don't care. I'm saying,
Okay.
right, so here's my point.
All right,
If we
fine.
have
I have a shot, everybody.
Please listen. If we...
I can play for the Lakers.
I hope... Do it, Charlie. I'll come to your games. I'll do it.
The point is this, is that merit should triumph over all of
Which
it.
is awesome. Okay, so merit should triumph. We agree.
Okay.
Okay, Charlie, do you think black people are not as smart or competent as
Absolutely
white
not.
people?
No.
Perfect. So they should, in theory, then, be equally represented in positions of
but
power.
no, so, have you ever read Discrimination and Disparities by Thomas Sowell?
Do you only read Thomas Sowell? You quoted him like 3 times. I haven't read
No,
that.
I read a lot more than Thomas Sowell, but I'm happy to. Thomas Sowell's the only intellectual with the courage to go after like these core issues of why Black America has fallen behind and why no one actually has studied it. So let's just give a great example. When you don't have a father in the home, the amount of words that a child hears goes down by 60 to 70%. The amount of words that a child, I don't know if you're a mother or not, or plan to be. Okay, no, just it's an important point. The amount of words that an 18-month-old hears is highly predictive of IQ, verbal development. Okay, so that's simple. When you don't have a dad in the home, the mom is overwhelmed, and there's just less interaction with the child.
That's all fine.
Okay, so we agree. I'm just saying that's not because of racism. No, that's fine. No, she's I know what you mean. But you have a father in the home. All of a sudden, they hear thousands of more words a day, and they're like way further ahead of a single mother raising a child. That's not racism.
Okay, so dads are good. Yes, great.
Okay.
What my question to
I'm saying
you
dads
is...
actually answer most of the questions that you might have about why Black America is falling behind.
Okay, but
Because their dads don't stay around, and
I'm
that's
trying
bad.
to sort of get you to reconcile your own beliefs. And if that's true, which is fine, that's true, we can say that's true. You either believe that has social and economic causes, or you believe that, oh, black culture is just worse.
No,
and there
I
isn't
think
another
that
thing to think.
No, I
Those
was
are your
very
options.
clear. Right now, Black culture is being held captive by influences, songs,
Which
and role models.
influences?
I mean, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay, Nicki Minaj is causing dads to leave the home.
Hold on, I don't think that's a good role model for 18-year-old black girls. I don't. I don't think that songs that are talking about, like, glorifying wet female genitalia is exactly, I don't know which one wrote that song. Which one was it?
I think it was Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but by the way, the role models of the 1940s and 50s for Black America were completely different.
So it
I
is a
can't stand it that he's
representation.
fucking
Well,
right,
it's not a
can
representation. It's who do you get your art from? It's what values are they putting forward? It's the question of every day. For example, more times than not, black politicians will lament the condition of America. It's systemically racist. It's terrible. What does that do to a 14-year-old black kid if you hear that everything is rigged against you? Instead, they should be saying, hey, there might be some barriers, but if you believe in yourself enough, you can achieve in this country. It creates a form of social conditioning of low expectations, and that's not my argument. You know whose argument that is? Barack Obama's.
I don't necessarily agree with everything he said either, man.
Barack Obama said, number one, we need more fathers in the home. This is when Barack Obama.
Barack Obama's a liberal. I don't care what he's got.
Okay, Barack Obama, and secondly, he said that we can't keep telling our black youth that you can't succeed in this country. Anybody can succeed in this country. And Obama was right when he said that. Obama was correct when he said that we need to change the story we're telling Black America.
Which is fine. I've never heard any teacher look at a black person and say, oh, you can't succeed because of racism.
Hold on a second. But what is the embedded message of all the propaganda saying it's systemically racist, you're going to run into racist employers, that they're going to discriminate against you. It creates this pettiness of why you should try.
By the time college students get to college, they've experienced all that. They don't need to be told.
Who's going to college all the time, motherfucker?
I'm curious. You think that the average black student at this university experienced like active daily racism? I'd be curious.
I'd have to ask.
Okay.
You're asking
I
the
don't know. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's as bad as it was in the antebellum South. So.
I'm not saying that, obviously.
Okay.
I did say
Fine.
social racism improved. I'm saying institutional racism is still present, and that's what's causing lower outcomes for minority communities.
Do you think the reason why only 20 to 25%, we don't know the number, it's just a range per year. So 1 in 4 of black youth have a stable father around. What would you say is the big why is that the reason?
A complex intersection of social and economic reasons, which are outlined in CRT.
Okay. Thank you for the dialogue. Thank you.
Okay.
How do you feel about like the current state of the economy and this whole theory of like immaculate disinflation? If you're familiar with the term.
Say that again.
Immaculate disinflation?
We're not living through that.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
Yes.
And where's your proof that we aren't exactly?
Are you talking disinflation?
Yes.
We actually don't. We're not seeing a surge in prices.
No, disinflation means the inflation rate is decreasing over time.
Well, so there is some evidence to show that, for example, televisions, iPhones.
Specific products, that's not an illustration of all inflation.
I was gonna agree with you that.
Okay.
But if you just go to a grocery store, eggs are far more expensive than they were 2 years ago. You don't really think. I mean, the college degree here at this university, what is it per year, guys? How much? They've been 10 in state, 30,000 out of state. Yeah, 10 years ago, I bet it was 18,000 out of state, right? So.
Yes, but they've been trying to raise the Cal State tuition for quite some time, even before inflation spiked to its current levels or previous levels by year. They've just been delaying it for quite some time. So
yeah,
it's not exactly.
We're living through a decades-long inflation surge, and the best evidence you can see it either in the artificial boosting of profit earning ratios. Go ahead.
Even during like Trump's administration, inflation was actually quite low, so that's not.
No, it was low then, but it's not low right now.
Yes, but why was it low then? Would you say?
Well, we had economic growth, and we weren't borrowing $2 to $3 trillion.
We actually were. We were borrowing.
You see what it says, Turning Point USA? Like the doctor's office, Turning Point?
Yes. Do you agree?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, that's something else.
Triple in the large, law of big numbers is a big deal. So borrowing $800 million, not excusable. Borrowing
What is that?
$5 trillion,
Thank you so much.
morally reprehensible.
Appreciate you.
Why exactly morally is there a distinction between one?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't
Very
I?
arbitrary.
Because everyone here is going to have to pay off that debt, and that dollar that you think is going to have
Is there a
value
reason why I shouldn't?
increasing by the day. Whether you're pro-choice or Democrat,
I gotta leave that for you to answer.
Can I finish?
Tell me.
It's okay.
You have to answer that.
Inflation
I
is
can't.
not a guaranteed human norm. That's not true, but I'll get to that in a
Ricky
second.
said he made him a
Every single
pee-pee. I
person
said,
here
what the
gets
hell's a
paid for it,
pee-pee?
never own a home.
He
So
said,
inflation is
a
immoral
vagina.
because you're
He
going to
molded a
enter
vagina
into
for him to
housing
use.
market
I didn't.
where
I said,
everything
I'd never
costs
heard of a
3 times
pee-pee. I don't even know what that is. Huh? I know, but he called it a pee-pee. I said, I never heard of a pee-pee.
Goods and services.
I said, I don't know what that is.
Well, you know who does benefit is your parents' generation of baby boomers. Sure, events that
What they
you
call
own
them
their
business.
assets and you want. So, secondly, inflation is a choice. It's not built into the human experience.
The human experience, sure, but the economic system, especially a capitalist economic system, it definitely is.
You appreciate me, Daniel?
Inflation.
Do you?
0%
Yes, I do. I appreciate you so much.
So then it is
I
built
appreciate
in.
everything you do.
Well, inflation
For
is
us as a couple.
I said I wouldn't
For me
want
as
it.
a couple.
Okay, moderate inflation is good for
The
money
single
velocity
person, you know, just
and growth.
me, by
Yes,
myself.
you need to manage
What you
that
do for
versus
me.
the growth rate, right?
Well, I
So
didn't know.
back to Milton Friedman's idea of
So I do
Chicago
appreciate everything you do.
You can laugh all you want.
And every single
Yeah, all right.
life that
I mean,
you
what's
do.
up by Milton Friedman? In fact, he's the greatest economist of the 20th century.
I mean
Qualified.
that.
That's I don't know. I wouldn't say he's exactly that.
So you're more like a John
I respect your
John Maynard Keynes guy. So yeah.
Not necessarily.
Should I put
no,
that
but I just
lampshade
think
on?
more broadly.
I'll load this phone up.
So we don't need to have a central bank. We
Yeah.
do have a central bank.
Okay. Okay. Bold claim. I'll follow
I'm
you.
gonna fast forward this a little bit.
I used to be
Whoa.
very against the Federal Reserve as well.
Okay, I'm just saying we need to have one. Okay, choose to have one. The central bank has been overly politicized to try to stop, let's just say, natural economic cycles from both administrations.
I'm about to get a
Bush,
shower
Obama,
here in a
Trump,
minute.
Me
Biden,
too. I need
lean
to.
on the central bank to use cheap money as a way to try to keep the good times flowing and the good times going.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's definitely for sure.
we don't agree. Why we don't disagree?
Yeah, but here's the other thing I would say.
I gotta say, your
I'm gonna clean
protesters
this,
are kind of
alright?
weak here, guys. I expected more out of them.
Let's see if Spring Torch, I'm gonna clean
No,
this,
I
alright?
thought they'd have more,
It's right
yeah,
there.
I like it. Please keep going.
I will say though, going back to the like mortgage rates, as you were saying, I would say that probably has a lot more to do with private equity buying up homes than the inflation rate.
Well, hold on, there's two parts to that. I'm not talking about mortgage. Interest rates are up. I'm talking about just the asset price itself.
That too, I would say it's a lot more related to private equity
Yeah,
buying
yeah,
up
but
homes.
why, so why is private equity doing that? Because they have so much cheap money that we put into the system, they don't do it.
Maybe.
Now,
I wanna see the shooting.
exploitation. What I say is actually very popular in residents. Okay, tell me why.
What?
Tell me why.
Capitalism is the empire. I don't know.
What?
I said the capitalism.
I'm gonna click out there, alright?
He's the head of the town. I had to sum up the working class.
Capitalism is a deadly vampire that feasts on the blood of the working class.
Let's see here. This is what I'm gonna do, watch this. Have you seen the shooting yet?
Yeah, couple times.
When?
I showed it to you.
I only saw it once. I didn't get to see it because Ricky was driving me nuts. He kept saying, look at this. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, look back. I'm like, uh-huh. It's like, why is it so important that you want to show me that? I know. Thanks for keeping me safe.
Hmm?
Thanks for keeping me safe.
Always, man. Always.
Alright, right here. Shooting, right?
Yep. Charlie Kirk shooting video is best.
Skip. Okay, here's the...
Reporting for the shooter who killed conservative activist Charlie Kirk. This happened while he was speaking at
Try and locate this shooter. We want to show you some new video that we have. Authorities are combing through this video from the scene. It appears to show a person on the roof immediately following the
Can't really
shooting,
tell that.
according to sources familiar with the ongoing investigation. Now, the Utah Department of Public Safety said two people were initially taken into custody after the shooting, but later were released. The first was released and later charged with obstruction by University Police. The second person was taken into custody and released after the shooting, but later were released. The first was released and later charged with obstruction by University Police. The second person was taken into custody and released after an interrogation by law enforcement. Now, Utah authorities also said that there are no current ties to the shooting.
Is this after it happened?
Individuals. A single shot was fired on Utah Valley University's Orem campus toward Charlie Kirk, a visiting speaker, shortly after noon on Wednesday. The Utah Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bo Mason called the shooting a
Like it's bullshit.
It didn't even show it.
That guy had just as much right as anybody else to fucking share his love for and his passion for his beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it wasn't, you know, the socially norm or whatever, or they're socially, favored.
Right?
He still should have been able to stay alive to fucking,
Mason called the shooting a targeted attack and said the scene is a very large area. Now, just a few hours ago, we met a man from Salt Lake.
I like that, proving me wrong, proving me wrong.
Drove here last
Nobody can prove me wrong.
Mm-mm. So what's happening here?
That's right after the shooting, I guess.
A lot of chicks in there. Oh, that's a dude.
Huh?
That's a dude.
Charlie Kirk. This is
I want to see the shooting though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had to be here to see it for himself. Take a listen. And here,
I don't think this is a good one.
you're gonna think of man.
Is this it?
I don't know, man.
I'm trying to think here. This is the guy?
That's the guy that did it right there. Let's watch something about him.
Alright. That's the prayer vigil. Let's go back to here real quick, alright? Let's go to what it said first. To search, okay? And you said, I think this right here, this is Ricky's stuff. Should we go to one that's not Ricky's?
I don't know why. I mean, you see me like.
Video's best, you said?
Yeah. Let's watch that best gun debate I've had in years. A person.
Yeah, absolutely. I said absolutely. You gotta give me a minute, yo.
Okay.
Alright?
Take your time, bro. Just saying, I like to see that. Every time you interested.
I'm trying to skip this. Can you hear it? Alright, there you go.
Hey Charlie, how are you? So I just had a question on your thoughts on if we need more gun control in the country or not. I'm very pro protecting America, the citizens that live in it, and so I think we should have more gun control because there's a lot of school shootings that happen, as you mentioned, and I just think we do a lot to protect people. And I think the Second Amendment also qualifies that we should have regulations for guns. I want to know your thoughts on that.
Sure. Do you think gun ownership is a right or a privilege?
I think it's a right that comes with responsibilities.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, I think that there should be things in place, things like red flag laws and things like that. The AG just approved Mel Gibson to do his gun rights back and made it a domestic violence charge. So, I don't think people that commit these violent crimes should be able to buy guns and things like that. I think there are red flag laws in place to make sure that those violent criminals aren't getting those.
Okay, so let's go. So tell me, in your perfect world, what would constitute a red flag?
Just things like, we can look into any kind of medication and things like that that can affect someone's.
That could be dangerous, right? I mean, that could be there's a lot of vets that come home from war and that are on a lot of medication. A lot of vets that have their weapons taken.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying. Bless you.
Thank you. It's the pollen or something. Thank you.
I'm not necessarily saying like it's mainly to prevent future shootings and things like that, and also putting in place things like a federal registry so that we know the types of guns that people have, and it would just essentially be a federal registry that shows these are the guns that this person
Fuck
has.
that, that's a fucking big problem,
In case
man.
a cop has to go on something like a domestic call, that's the most dangerous call they can go on. So,
Yeah, I can see you're coming after this from a good perspective. Let me ask you one other question. What would you say is the ultimate and final purpose of the Second Amendment?
I think it's self-defense against a tyrannical government, which
We agree. Sure, great. Keep going.
well, but I think within the Second Amendment it also implies that we have high regulations in the first four words.
Well-regulated militia actually meant well-armed, but that's a separate issue. But
Well, how do you know? You're interpreting what the founding fathers.
well, they said it in the Federalist Papers, right? So it's not just me, but also in the Heller decision, in the 5-4 decision, that said that gun ownership was a right. This was a hotly debated thing.
But see, do you disagree? Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. disagree with the idea of a federal registry like
Oh,
that.
without a doubt. The only reason you want to register the guns is you want to confiscate them.
Or to make sure that people like officers of law are protected and know what
It's-
they're going into. I mean,
Again, that's a good argument.
Right.
To your credit. I will try to make a better argument where the problem of the government knowing where every gun is would then lead itself towards mass confiscation. And I would agree with you, a well-armed citizenry is the greatest
You wanna shut
protectorate
that front
of liberty
door?
and freedom in this
Wow.
country.
Even though the army
Oh,
has
no,
things
so no one can see us?
things like that out-arm, citizens that have.
Yes
Someone
and
can
no.
see
I
us?
mean, we've
No.
seen it in several instances where at least a citizen,
You
that's a
shouldn't
good
be able
argument,
to.
but I would say a little flawed, where the citizens are able to protect themselves in some ways, it's a much harder population to control.
I understand, but so you think a federal registry would infringe on the rights?
Potentially, I mean, I think that there's no good argument, I think, other than potential. I ascribe to the government bad motives and bad intentions when it wants to infringe more on these types of freedoms and liberties.
I need to turn this light on over here so I can see, because I'm gonna get it really clean.
I think we agreed that owning a gun is a right. However, I
Yes.
think it's responsibilities. But also, I wanted to ask, is voting a right or is that a
Hold this for me.
Well, it is a
Hold it
right. and
just
that's-
like this,
so
if you
felons
don't
can
mind.
get their rights
Huh?
back.
Hold it just like
Right.
this for
So,
1 second.
But rights
I'll
can
come
be
right back to
suspended
it.
or delayed.
right?
We both agree with that. So, for example, like somebody in prison doesn't get guns.
Right, no, of course.
Somebody in prison doesn't have the same free speech rights that
Right, but what's the first thing you have to do if you want to vote? You have to register, right? So it's a federal registration so you can vote in this country. So why not, we can agree that, keeping safe and, keeping our elections to where people who should vote aren't voting is, that's keeping America safe because we don't want people
That's a fair point. I would say there's there's a technical difference between a voter registration roll and a gun registration
Right, guns
roll.
are much more dangerous.
Well, also, but guns in many different ways, they would go after the guns a lot more than like, I don't know, the voter registration roll. My worldview comes out of one in the 20th century, where almost every totalitarian government went after the guns first. And the confiscation of guns then leads into the erosion of freedom and liberty.
Right, but wouldn't you say in the 20th century, as you just said, that the disparity between the technology that citizens had to protect themselves compared to what the military had, wouldn't you say that there was a much smaller disparity as opposed to what we see now?
I think that's a fair point.
So,
Acknowledging that's a fair point.
okay. But
But
Let me
you
salt
see
over
my
there.
perspective as
Yeah.
well.
Let me use that
No,
salt.
That an armed citizenry also says shall not be infringed. We have to kind of wrestle with those two things.
right, but so this is a semantics argument, then to that point,
It's not. I mean, semantics means meaning. That's really what the word means. But
right, but
so
you're saying because it says shall not be infringed, you can't do anything.
No,
Does
I'm
does
saying,
mean
though, that
voting rights can be
I'm
infringed?
saying
Does it say it cannot be infringed?
I'm saying I err on the side that more government regulation on guns means that they'll try to take good people's guns away,
Yep.
which then results in less global or let's just say national freedom and liberty.
Yep.
What if getting the medicine you need didn't have to be so hard? No waiting weeks to see a doctor, no fighting with insurance. That's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They believe in medical freedom and they're changing the way
Look at
people
them
get the medications they trust. Just go online and pick up what you need. Things like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, antibiotics, and more than 200 other medications. A licensed doctor reviews your orders, writes the prescription, and your medicine shows up at your door in a few days. You do not need insurance, you don't need to beg a doctor, just simple, fast, honest care. Check them out and get 10% off your order today. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk and use promo code KIRK10 to get 10% off.
I understand, but wouldn't you say that that more guns can potentially lead to more danger and less guns?
Yes and no. I mean, there's plenty of evidence to show that states that have more, so if you take Houston and Chicago, about comparable populations, Houston actually has warmer weather, which means potentially more gang violence. They have about half, if not even less, the amount of homicides per year than in Chicago. Chicago has much stricter gun laws than Houston, like incredibly strict gun laws.
I understand, but I'm also, I think part of what plays into that is the gun laws that are around those cities. They're a lot more lenient than those cities themselves. So I think, I'm not saying that's entirely the cause of it, but I'm
I've
saying
heard
that's
that my whole life, so yeah.
right. But I'm basically just talking about preventing people that have committed crimes such as domestic violence. I know I mentioned Pam Bondi gave Mel Gibson his rights to purchase a gun again, even though he pled guilty to battery domestic violence charge in 2011, and yet now he is able to purchase a gun again, which I disagree with because he committed a violent crime. Do you disagree with that personally?
No, I mean, I don't know the details of the case, but I think I've met Mel Gibson. I think he should be able to own a gun. I mean, like
Just off of speaking to him though, even though with his
yeah, I
criminal
mean,
history?
I don't know all the details, but I think that the idea of taking his rights away because of something that happened that I don't know all the details about
Is he crapping himself or what?
Even though he
Again, I don't know the details around that, but I guess we're getting to a place where you think anyone that's convicted of violent crime should be able to own guns again?
No, not at all. If they're committing a violent crime, absolutely not. I think we should protect people in America, which I think you agree with. And I think
Yeah, but that's a balance. Are we gonna really say the federal government is gonna protect us from ourselves when it comes to guns?
No, I mean it's less about the federal government taking away guns and more just allowing them to protect their citizens. And it's not about getting rid of guns. I'm a gun owner myself. I go hunting. I
I'm
was
not
on a
talking about
competitive
what
team,
state would you say has the gun laws that are the most appealing to your worldview?
I don't know specific state laws, if I'm being completely honest.
But something to think about.
But I'm speaking, even just the federal registry itself. I think that would protect, a lot of officers of the law. Like I said, we have a lot of domestic calls. That's the most dangerous call that an officer.
So there's an informal registry, not a formal one. Because gun dealers are supposed to report.
Right, but do
gun
you really think
sales.
that they do all the time?
No, of course not. Obviously, I mean,
Right.
I
So
live
would
in
the federal
reality.
registry eliminate that problem?
Again, I would go back to a formal registry. You register in order to confiscate. It is a prerequisite towards confiscation. I will not. Well, it's not. It's an historical argument, right? We see that throughout totalitarian dictatorships throughout the 20th century, where if you want to take the weapons away, you first ask for a collection of all the items that you then want to collect. But I can see, if you're coming after this in good faith, I tend to be on a much more libertarian side, even though I'm not libertarian. We actually need looser gun laws because I think that free. Oh yeah.
Need a convenient weeknight dinner? Then it's time to think outside the box with Home Chef. With our oven-ready and express sheet pan meals, Home Chef delivers everything you need.
Why
What?
you do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah. You can't skip it till it says you
Right,
can.
that's what I'm saying, whenever you get time.
You know what I mean? Jelly bean. Where's your orange towel you had?
Right here. What?
I'm just gonna, yeah, if you don't care. You don't mind, do you?
No.
I'm gonna clean this too, alright?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stem it off.
Especially in states like Chicago and Illinois, where it's very basic Second Amendment rights. So I'll give you a great example. In a state like Rhode Island or New York, it could take a woman upwards of 30 days to get a gun. So let's say
woman,
a man wants
what's
to
a woman?
actually harm to her, and she gets
What
threats
about
and
a
the
man?
police won't intervene, I think she should be able to get a gun that afternoon to protect herself.
Well, it's equal rights, right? It's equal rights, men and women, so that makes no
No,
sense.
he's saying if a man is threatening a woman, she ought to be able to go right in there and buy a
Yeah.
gun to
Also,
protect
go back
herself,
to this idea
instead of having to wait 30
we
days.
have seen case
Yes.
after case of it being abused, of veterans having their weapons
But that's the
taken
purpose
away
for gun laws, to keep
because of
shootings
fake
from happening like
accusations
that.
And let's just say faulty accusations, saying that they're mentally unbalanced, so on and so forth.
But do you think they could investigate cases like that and see if there are any medications? I mean, a lot of
Did
these.
you see that Stardust on the floor?
For sure, and some of it though is they
There
take
was
the
a
guns away
pink
first
one.
and then they ask questions after.
Yeah, no,
It's a
there's
difficult,
one that
very,
hasn't been eaten yet.
I don't want to say gray area, but edge part of the law, where I tend to, and I have a respectable position, respect to you, I tend to err on the side of it is a right, the government screws up more than it does correct in this specific portion, and the downside to having more guns is far better than the downside of having only the government have guns.
Even if that could cost American lives, though. I mean, me personally, I would give up all of my guns in a heartbeat if I knew for a fact
Okay,
that it was going to save one life.
Can I do a thought experiment to you?
Sure.
So, do you think we should ban driving?
No, I don't think so. I know you're going with this.
55,000 people a year die from car accidents, right?
Right,
So,
absolutely. But those are accidents, though. That's not someone intentionally.
well, that's not true. Some people intentionally do it. Some people have DUIs, right? Some of it is an act of agency, not just accidents, right? Meaning that they are reckless with the technology.
I understand.
You would agree a DUI is a reckless act.
Oh, for sure.
And that's a vast majority of auto deaths,
Right.
both in the interior vehicle and the exterior.
Right, but then what do you have to do to be able to drive there? You get a driver's license, you take a test from
Sure, of course, but I'm saying if the pursuit of to save, if it's all about saving lives, then there are certain things that we get rid of. I would say though that government is not merely there for our safety. It's one of the primary focuses. You have to balance liberty and safety, and that's a tough balance at times. I fall on this issue on the side of liberty. Final thought.
So what? Yeah, just one last question. I promise. What about something, as I mentioned with taking a driving test to be able to get a driver's license, to prove that you know how to operate the vehicle safely? What about something?
This chick right here, she keeps crawling underneath, back and forth. What's up with that?
That training test, no. You show that you know how to operate the gun, safely.
MAGA has it.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and then
so
once you pass that, you get some kind of card that allows you to buy a gun.
I
It's
think
all about
that
protection. It's not about
yes,
restricting
on
rights.
that you might
Don't turn it.
I'm not.
I'm gonna watch the crowd, man.
People that don't know what they're
Tanya, I'm trying to figure out which one can watch next, man.
See, that's why I wasn't gonna give you the remote, so I've got it on my phone, so I'll have to do it this way. Right? Watch. I got it on my phone, I got a remote on my phone, I'll have